Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Friday and TGI Sports Talk's Jack and Keith's Weekend Playbook. We got a lot to chat about this morning. I welcome in my co-host, Boxing Hall of Fame writer and Michael Spink's biographer. Get that book if you haven't already. I haven't put it up in a while. Jack Hirsch. We both got it.
It's his book.
Reading books.
Michael J. Spink.
Jack Hirsch. How are you this morning, Jack?
Just as good as I was when I first saw you before the show, Keith.
Okay,
I have no better, no worse.
This Jack is consistent. That's what I like. He doesn't change every 10 minutes. So this is why we like Jack. Lots to talk about. We'll get into the NBA playoffs first, a little bit of NHL. We got some NFL news. We got a little bit of baseball news and a couple of passings that we want to get into today. But let's start in the NBA. The Cavs and Pistons played last night. I thought this would be a closer series. It's 2-0 Pistons who seem to have gotten themselves right, or they ran into the right team, because the James Harden story, or the lack of James Harden being a story on a good note, continues in the playoffs. He was, I think, 3 for 13 last night. And Donovan Mitchell, by the way, not setting the world on fire either. This Cavs team's in trouble, and Harden can't seem to get out of his own way.
First up, Donovan Mitchell was good, but you need more than good. You need more than good from a guy who's supposed to be a star player. And that's been the problem with Donovan Mitchell. He's usually good, no more than good. Good to very good. You got to be great from time to time. And he just doesn't quite take it up that extra level in the playoffs, even though he's okay. But James Harden, I'm sick of making excuses for him, Keith.
There is no excuse.
I've been defending him. And let me tell you why I've been defending him, Keith. Because I felt ultimately he would turn it around in the playoffs. And I'm not talking about one big game. Harden is capable of going back to Cleveland, scoring 38 points the next game, being the best player on the floor for one game. But I could guarantee you this, he's going to flop after that, literally and figuratively or whatever. He's going to flop after that. He's been awful.
We've said this, though, Jack. Every time we talk about this, we say he's capable of going off. And in 9 games in the playoffs, he hasn't gone off yet.
No, I'm talking about for one given game. That's what I mean. And then we're going to think, has he turned it around? No. You know what the problem with James Harden is? I think he's maybe lacks confidence, because this guy's supposed to be one of the more prolific scorers in NBA history in his prime. And all he's doing is looking to pass, looking for someone else to make the shot. When Harden is open, it's as if he doesn't open to take the shot. I mean, he just keeps looking to pass the ball, maybe to Strauss to take a shot in the corner. Happily let Donovan Mitchell do it. Get it to Mobley or Allen underneath. Jared Allen bounced back, by the way I said.
He had a nice game, but again,
but the point is, it was a winnable game for the Cavaliers if James Harden had showed up and played like the player you think he was, the Hall of Fame player that, he's been throughout his career. And he is going to go to the Hall of Fame, James Harden. But I'm going to tell you this.
A lot of ring.
Staying on Harden's career is going to be being one of the worst playoff performers, sport for sport, in sports history. One of the worst playoff performers. That's a noose over his neck as an athlete.
That's fair. I mean, you say he's passing the ball. It isn't even like he's passing the ball for assists. He only had a couple assists last night, too. So he's just looking to get rid of the basketball.
He's just looking to get rid of it. Not even good passes. The turnover at the end of the game.
Yeah.
I thought, where's he dribbling to? And then he throws the ball in traffic. It was dreadful. It was painful to watch.
And I can't give Donovan Mitchell a pass either here, because Mitchell has not come up big. He hasn't come up small as Harden this playoffs or even in the past, but he's never come up big. I mean, he gets his points. He has 31 points, but he's 11 for 24 and 2 for 9 from 3. That's not getting it done. When you're not offsetting what Cade Cunningham brings to the other side, they got nobody to offset Cade Cunningham. Donovan Mitchell is not the player Cade Cunningham is. And that's the big problem for the Cavs. If neither one of your superstars is going to step up,
I mean, I wouldn't put it on Donovan Mitchell because if I had to grade, if we had to give grades, if we were professors and had to grade performances, we'd probably give Donovan Mitchell a B.
Minus.
How he played the game.
B minus.
But you needed an A performance.
Exactly.
You can't say, well, he was okay. You know, Harden would get an F as far as I'm concerned.
I agree.
But Donovan Mitchell does have to step up. Someone's going to have to carry this Cavs team. I mean, Jared Allen did it in Game 7, you know, against the Orlando Magic. I mean, it's the Raptors for them to advance. But someone is going to have to step up. They're down 2-0. This is where home court is crucial. At least the Cavaliers are going home for 2 games. They've got to win both these games at home. I mean, they can't split these 2 games and then expect to win the next 3, and with especially 2 of them being in Detroit.
Oh, no.
This is it. I mean, and they got to start in Game 3, not only win, but do it in dominating fashion, send the message that this is a series. And I wouldn't be surprised if James Harden did show up for 1 game, but that's not good enough. Like I said,
I'd be
Game
shocked
3, if Harden pours in 35, 38 points, looks great, I'm not overly impressed because he's expected to do that from time to time. But I got to see him play well consistently.
You're not even going to see it once in my mind. There's no evidence to say he's going to go. Well, he's ready to go off. It's been 9 games, and he's played basically pretty close to the same game every night in these playoffs. So he hasn't even been close to the game you just talked about.
Well, I'm not saying Detroit's going to let up. I'm not saying that at all in Game 3. No. But
Cleveland's
got to be more motivated than Detroit. Detroit is ultra confident. They know if they lose Game 3, they're not losing the series as far as they're concerned. They have a stranglehold on this series. In Cleveland, it's desperation time. It's really, really desperation time. But the Harden thing at Cleveland is something they're going to have to live with because he's going to be there next year. You know, Brian, you were putting down Durant, you know, on your Detroit Pistons, and now you want to give some credit because Durant is playing somewhat better. So okay,
well,
I mean,
you know,
you got to give you do have to wait. In all fairness to Brian, you do have to give the defense a lot of credit, and they have been suffocating Harden to a degree. I'll agree with that. But the times Harden has been open, and when you're open for a shot, you only open a fraction of a second. You have to make a quick decision. Harden's been gun shy. Let us all agree on that. He hasn't been looking to shoot.
Listen, he's right about the defense. You got to give the defense some credit. I always say that. We talk about, and I'm guilty of it myself. I will say a lot of times, you know, we have to credit the defense for stopping somebody who's not playing well. But game after game after game, you know, a lot of it's got to come down on Harden as well. And listen, the Pistons and Cunningham has been one of the most consistent players throughout this playoff too. He's come and brings it every night like your star should. And that's the difference in this series is that Cunningham brings it every night. And Mitchell, who, again, yes, does cry too much about the fouls, and everybody does in the NBA. I'm so tired of watching these guys whine about officials, and we'll talk more about that in a second, too.
You know, it makes me think of what George Steinbrenner said when we sign a free agent. It's not only a plus for us, it's a negative for another team if it's within their division.
Yep.
Same thing with this game. You just mentioned Cade Cunningham. We talked about James Harden. This is all hypothetical. Let's make believe Cade Cunningham played the way James Harden did, and James Harden played the way Cunningham did.
Well, the Cavs would be winning.
It would be 1-1 now.
It'd probably be 2-0 Cavs, probably.
Okay, but at least 1-1. That's what we're talking about. In Cade Cunningham, we could project him as a future Hall of Famer. He's not there yet, obviously. He's early in his career. But James Harden, if he retired today, would be a Hall of Famer later on. He is going to get inducted without a doubt. Play like one. You know, play like one. He's been awful, and Cleveland's going to have him next year. That's the thing about it. If Cleveland goes out in 4 games, if they get swept, and that talk's a little premature, but you could see it happening perhaps. Harden's on the Cavs next year. Can they run it back with the same crew, even though on paper they look good? They can't. All they can do is hope LeBron comes back to Cleveland and maybe he adds stability to that team.
It's an intriguing possibility, right? I mean, I think it's probably a long shot, but it's an intriguing possibility for LeBron to come in there, I think.
Well, I don't think if the Lakers go out, timidly against OKC, which might be the case. It certainly looks like it's going to be the case at this point. I don't see them running it back exactly the way things are. I mean, some type of deal has to be made to shake the team up. If LeBron is there, that means the Lakers will make some deal involving Austin Reeves and what other chips they might have to give. I'm not exactly sure. And getting an impact player, to add in.
Well, that's all kind of, crystal ball type stuff. So we'll have plenty of time to talk about that.
It'll be a fun off season.
It will be. In the other game last night, speaking of referees and people complaining, Lakers should just shut up. If you get beat by freaking, as much as they're getting beat by the referees, whether they're good or bad, just shut up. The Lakers aren't going to win a game in this series. LeBron's played two pretty good games. He played as probably good as he can play in game one.
Kudos to LeBron.
Reeves gets off last night and plays well, and they still get beat by 18. 50 points off the bench for this Thunder team. They're just too good and too deep for this Laker team, and maybe anybody. I don't know. But
SGA did not have one of his good games. And SGA, his team is down a few points when SGA gets in foul trouble. And by the time SGA gets back in the game, the Thunder up 13 points. So they did it without SGA, basically, for the most part. Not that SGA didn't contribute at various stages, but they didn't need SGA to win the game. So consider this. The Lakers' two best players played good games yesterday, and the Thunder's best player had an off game, and still the Thunder won decisively. That's a bad sign. That's a bad sign when your best players show up and it's still not nearly enough. LeBron does get fouled a little more. He does, but you want to know something? Back in the past, when the NBA tolerated more contact.
Yeah.
Remember the way Jordan used to get clobbered by the Pistons?
You remember the Knicks team, the Knicks Bulls series were like football games, for crying out loud, in the 90s.
Yeah, it goes on. Listen, I could understand the complaining, Austin Reeves, J.J. Redick. LeBron didn't go to the foul line as much as he should have. They did have a point, the Lakers. I don't want to dismiss the complaints that they're having, but bottom line is it wouldn't have mattered, even if those calls went their way, because, OKC looked to be on another level. They're going back to Los Angeles the next two games. I mean, can the Lakers grab a game there? Yeah, of course they can. But realistically, they need to win both games.
Yeah, to your point.
It's highly doubtful that they're going to do that.
Yeah, you were talking about, you're in bad shape when two of your best players play really well and you get beat badly, but it's a mark of a good team, as Brian says. I was going to add this. When SGA plays well, and he didn't play great in game one, but the rest of his team steps up and picks him up, especially the bench. Nobody's bench has scored 50 points.
The bench was great for OKC. The bench was phenomenal for OKC. And listen, you got the feeling even if the Lakers had Luka, it wouldn't have mattered. It wouldn't have mattered. I
don't think it would have, and I think this will be a 4-game series.
But you want to know something? The narrative would look a lot worse if Luka was there and he was playing well also, and the Lakers still lost with their big three playing well. Normally, a big three, your two main players, when they're playing really well, you expect to win. We were just talking a moment ago, Donovan Mitchell, James Harden. Had Harden played really, really well, showed up, that would have had an impact on the game. But the Lakers, two bigs yesterday, James and Reeves, showed up and didn't matter.
Well, speaking of showing up, we've got 2 games tonight. The Knicks looking to take a 3-0 lead as we head to Philadelphia. Injuries kind of the story. Embiid still questionable for tonight. OG's status is questionable for the Knicks, and he's been playing great, by the way.
Yeah.
He and Bridges have really stepped up here in the playoffs and played well, especially in this series. Bridges really played well the last game.
Bridges has been very maligned, so
but he stepped up in the playoffs last year.
Spotlight.
He stepped up in the playoffs last year, and he stepped up now, and he does some little things that don't always show up, right? People want him to score 20 points a game. He doesn't need to score 20 a game to help this team win games. So,
no, but Bridges gives the Knicks a lot of energy, you know, he's up and down the court. So he gives you that element. Anobi, they can kind of make up for his presence, as valuable as he is. They have enough of a bench. They could mix and match. And, you know, the Knicks won the game 2, and I expected it to be a tougher game, but the Knicks would win. The Sixers just couldn't make a shot at the end of the game. We tend a lot of times to talk about the way teams are playing. A team could actually, Keith, be playing very well, but if they miss their shots, that's all it comes down to, and that's what it came down to in game 2.
You're playing well if you're missing shots, though?
No. I mean, you're playing well on defense. There's good ball movement. You're getting the open man, but you're getting good looks, but you're just missing the shots. What more can you do? And
sometimes
you gotta make your shots. Like Herm Edwards used to say. What did he say? You gotta play the game. You play the game
to win the game. Play to win the game.
You gotta make your shots. Yeah, that's all it is. You gotta make your shots. And the Sixers ran out of steam at the end of the game, basically, and didn't make their shots. That was a heck of a game, too. It seemed like 2, 3 points was separating both teams from start till, the last few minutes. Then there was a tiny bit of separation when the Sixers just, missed a ton of shots.
To me, the difference in this series, the first game was a blowout, obviously, but still, even in game 2, the Knicks are scoring a ton of points in the paint. There's very little defense. So, a lot of times they drive the basket uncontested through the paint. You saw that in game 1 over and over again, and you saw it again, I think, in game 2. So the Sixers' interior defense has got to get better, or they're not going to beat this Knicks team at all. I mean, this series still could go 6 or 7 games. It could. But I think the Knicks might get out of here in 5. Now, I'd like to see that for them not to have to go from game 7 into right into another series. But
any chance the Sixers might have of coming back, having to win 4 the next 5 games, is going to rest on Embiid's shoulders. He's got to come back, and he's got to play basically like a superstar. Is he capable of doing it? Of course he's capable of doing it. He's a great player, but he's been hurt. And can he consistently play these next, few games for the Sixers at a high level? I have doubts about it. I mean, when he's out, you got Andre Drummond to clean up on some rebounds, but Drummond's not an offensive threat at all, the way Embiid is. And they could have used Embiid at the end of game 2. He absolutely could have been a difference maker at that point. But, I'd like to see Karl Anthony Towns. Offensively, he didn't take a lot of shots in game 2.
No.
I mean, the offense was running through Brunson again the way it normally did. And I think Karl Anthony Towns and Anobi's absence could pick things up with his outside shooting.
Yeah, hey, listen, Anobi is a much better player than sometimes. When you look at just raw numbers, he's better than the numbers. I talked about this even last Sunday. There's not a lot of guys I would trade Anobi for in the league.
Josh Hart had a needless technical on him in game 2 and was chirping at the refs. And I was, Josh Hart has to be quiet. You could say something to the refs, but him of all players, don't get a technical foul shot.
No.
Especially in what could be a close game. Josh Hart made some really good plays on defense. Really good plays, forced turnovers. Kudos to him. He played a good game. I'm not the biggest Josh Hart fan per se, even though I know he's a good defender, and I recognize how he sometimes fits, into the flow of the game. But if the Knicks ought to make a trade in the off season, I mean, Josh Hart would be part of any trade, I'm sure.
And that's unfortunate because he's part of what makes his team go. I wasn't a big fan of his when he got here. I wasn't a big fan of the trade, but watching him play night after night, he does things that don't show
little things. Yeah.
And they'll miss him a lot if they should move on from him. We'll see how that goes. The other series, I know you like the Wolves and the T-Wolves, and the injuries have hurt them. Edwards has played the first 2 games coming off the bench, and they've split them. Surprisingly, they won game 1, but they kind of reverted back to form a little bit. Randall didn't play well in game 2. I don't think the Spurs lose another game here, but I know you like the Wolves. And...
No. I picked the Spurs in this series because I think the Spurs, over the next few years, are the future of the NBA. I think they're the one team that really can take down OKC. I really do. The Timberwolves, I think, can maybe, give OKC a good run at it, battle really, valiantly. If they get there, the Timberwolves to play OKC, but they've got to get by San Antonio.
You'd say that.
The one thing that Timberwolves might have going for them against San Antonio, hopefully, is that maybe San Antonio's youth, maybe they're a year away. Maybe they haven't quite put it all together yet. We're kind of projecting how good San Antonio is going to be. By next season, San Antonio's the NBA champions. It's rare that you can make a prediction for next season during the playoffs. That's rare in any sport, isn't it? It's very rare. But I'm predicting now San Antonio is next season's NBA champions. But sometimes a team arrives ahead of schedule. We're wondering whether that's the case with San Antonio, because if they've arrived ahead of schedule, I think they win it this year. They'll take down OKC in the next series, but they've got to get by the Timberwolves, and the Timberwolves are in an easy out. Even though in game 2, they got routed by San Antonio, and I don't want to say San Antonio will go as far as Wemby will take them. Wemby has a very good supporting cast, good supporting cast. Guys like DeAndre Fox, great, Robin to his Batman, and, Dylan Harper. And, I mean, they're ready to be the face of the NBA teams, but will it be this year? And the Timberwolves are always making a bit of an impact in the playoffs, but they can never get over the top and get to the finals.
That's probably not going to happen.
And they have good personnel. And the Timberwolves intriguing, because you don't want to split that team up, but can you keep running it back with them if you're coming up short? And I'm all for running it back with the T-Wolves. Run it back next week. Yeah, you got Anthony Edwards. You're not going to trade him. You got Randall, who's excellent. You're not going to make a trade with Randall and get a better player than Randall in a trade.
No.
Rudy Gobert, run it back with Gobert, and McDaniels, etc. DiVincenzo will be back next year.
But are they getting better? But are they getting better? If they go out in this series here this year, I can say this team's not as leveled off. They're not progressing. Like the Knicks were getting better and better every single year, which is why I didn't want to break up the team, and I didn't want to fire the coach last year, because they'd gotten better every year and they're moving forward. The Wolves have kind of plateaued, I think, with this group.
I think the problems, the other teams have somehow gotten a little better, but sometimes a team could fall back here. We have to see with the Wolves how the rest of the series plays out. It's 1-1. If they lose a 7-game series to San Antonio, and San Antonio goes on to win the NBA championship, why would you want to shake the Wolf team up? You run it back. They're on the brink. I mean, look, no better example than the Denver Nuggets. The Denver Nuggets have an NBA championship with Jokic. Outside of that, they've been like the Wolves. They haven't gotten to a finals with this group.
Yeah.
And you just need one breakthrough with the Wolves. It's frustrating.
I think they're a player short. I really do. I think they need to add
How do
somebody.
you get that? How do you get that player? That's
without giving up. You're right. Moving Randall's not going to be the answer because you're not going to get value for the value.
No, I'll move Randall and a couple of other pieces as long as it's not Anthony Edwards. If I could get Giannis to come to Minnesota and play him with Anthony Edwards.
I don't think they have enough.
Yeah.
Do you think they have enough to get Giannis, Randall, and another player that's not Anthony?
No, a couple. Well, what other pieces do they have?
Yeah, I don't think those other pieces equal Giannis myself, but
no, I doubt it.
He was on the backside of his career.
Which is another question in the offseason with Giannis. What team has the pieces to get Giannis without breaking their team up?
Very
difficult. A very difficult deal to pull off. You got to consider Giannis's age and all the other factors. And I just want to say something for all you people out there who thought the Cavs should trade their number 1 overall draft choice this year for Giannis, maybe do business. How are you looking now? Would you trade the Dallas Cooper flag for Giannis? You'd be out of your mind.
No,
giving away 10 years in age, etc. Yeah.
No, I would not do that. Not in any event for sure. I mean, if he was, 28 years old, that'd be different, but he's not.
You'd still do it? You'd still trade Cooper flag for Giannis if Giannis was 28?
No, I wouldn't do it. I said if Giannis was 27 or 28 years old, maybe, but not now. Not once you're past 30. Not doing that. No. Not in a minute. Never. The NHL, the playoffs we're deep into the playoffs there as well. Well into the semifinals. The Hurricanes win last night easily again. They've got a 3-0 lead over the Flyers, who, speaking of teams, are probably a year away. The Flyers are probably a year away. They've probably achieved a bit this year.
But hockey's become fun in Philadelphia this year, though.
Without a doubt. And I'm sure fans like Pags are happy that they've gotten to this point.
It became relevant. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, they're not going to beat this Hurricanes team. The other series in the East is 1-0 Sabres, and it's a pretty good story. Both teams, Buffalo's been irrelevant for about 15 years, and they've got a really good team in Lindy Ruff's second time around there. And the Canadians have been out of the playoffs the last couple of years. And hockey's, every sport's better when certain teams are good. And the NHL's better when the Canadians are relevant. And nobody in Canada's won a Stanley Cup in 34 years, which is shocking to me. That's your game, Canadian.
Yeah, I mean, the magic of certain names of certain franchises disappears over time. In my youth, it was the Montreal Canadiens. It was a team, the franchise led by Jean Beliveau, and
Guy Lafleur.
Yeah. The Rocket, Maurice Richard, I mean, Ken Dryden, all the legendary players. And it was like their namesake, the Montreal Canadiens, what they meant to the sport. And you had other franchises in football. It was Lombardi's Green Bay Packers. In basketball, the, Red Auerbach Boston Celtics. In baseball, it was my Yankees. And things change over the years, especially in hockey. But the name Montreal Canadiens still has that little bit of magic for us older people, from the past. But you're right, the Canadian teams have become, I don't want to say irrelevant, because you did have the Edmonton Oilers with Gretzky and so on. And
that's 40 years ago, Jack.
40 years ago, yeah. But they're Canadian-born players who are playing for the USA team.
Yeah. No, that's
got to keep that in mind as well. And but the Montreal Buffalo series is interesting. You wonder how good Montreal is. They won a game 7 against the Tampa Bay Lightning, having only 9 shots on goal. But they had phenomenal goalkeeping on their part. So This
feels like the Hurricanes and Avalanche are on a collision course, but anything can happen. I think it'd be good for hockey for Montreal to find a way to get through the semifinals and beat the Hurricanes in the conference final.
TV ratings. You want the NHL, the average fan, to tune in, and you want it to be a storied franchise. I mean, I mean, you see that all the time. I mean, we were just talking about the NBA. If it was the Celtics and Lakers in the finals this year, the names would have been magic.
Yeah.
To get in there.
I think the best matchup for TV, to your point, would probably be Montreal and the Avs, right? I mean, I think that'd be the best matchup for
anything
TV.
with Montreal, Montreal Canadiens. And, the one team that's lacking, and I don't know who's been bigger choker come playoff time, and I hate to use that term, but if I have to use it about James Harden, I will. And it's easy to call a team a choking team in a way, and I hate doing it. It's a mean-spirited term.
Not my favorite term.
A team that's disappointed. Let me use another term. Teams that who's been more disappointing, James Harden or the Toronto Maple Leafs? Over the years come playoff time.
Yeah, you and I talked about this a little before the show about franchises that are gone through long droughts, and Toronto might be, as you mentioned to me, might be the longest. The
Leafs who disappointed this year, in their regular season, they have in the NHL draft, they got the number 1 overall pick, and supposedly the player who they're going to pick is a generational talent who could be the next Wayne Gretzky or whatever. And their chances of I'm not sure, was it the ping pong ball or whatever that decided it. The Maple Leafs supposedly had something like maybe a 12% chance of getting the number 1 overall pick, something like that. And everything kind of bounced their way.
Like the Knicks folded envelope.
Hey, listen, don't ever underestimate the luck of the draw. It changes careers.
Sure it does.
Case in point, Rick Pitino with the Boston Celtics. It looked like they were going to get Tim Duncan in the draft. Imagine had the ping pong balls fell the right way. And imagine had Tim Duncan gone to the Boston Celtics. He would have been a Boston Celtic legend. And of course, Pitino would have never left the Celtics. You don't leave a player like Tim Duncan. When you have a talent like that, you don't go elsewhere.
The butterfly effect comes into play there because it would greatly affect the history of the NBA and the history of college basketball tremendously if that would happen, and in a lot of different places. So that's very interesting for sure. And hopefully the Maple Leafs can turn it around because, listen, I'm a Ranger fan, and I don't get that many chances to root for the Rangers to win because they're so inconsistent. I'd like to. So after that, I'm rooting for good stories. So I'm rooting for Canadians this year because I don't know. Part of me wants to root for Buffalo, but I'm going to root for the Canadians because I want them to win a championship, just because of the history of the franchise and the game in Canada. I like our Canadian friends. So let's
but think of the people in Buffalo, all the way upstate, all the snow that they got to put up with, and coming short of winning the Super Bowl.
They've done well. Listen, Lindy Ruff's done well. They're up 1-0 in this series, so they could very easily get into this.
Around forever, it seems.
Lindy Ruff, he's been all over. He was in Buffalo the first time 20 years ago, 20 some years ago. So, good for him. You can go home again, apparently. So
By the way, I ordered, and I'll wear it one of the shows. Not that it means anything. Through Old Navy, whatever. Like I saw some of the T-shirts. I didn't have one. I ordered a New York Islander T-shirt.
There you go. They'll win again someday too. So we'll see. Let's see. Where else we want to go here? Real quick on Major League Baseball. You got a couple teams hot. We don't have to dive too much into this. The Cubs have won 9 in a row. The Rays have won 7 in a row. The Reds, who we had a little disagreement with about on our predictions, have now dropped the last place. But by the way, there are still over.
But the division's close. You know what? You don't look at
7 in a row now. So
you're guilty, Keith, of this. You think in the past, traditionally, you look and you see how many games the team's out in their division.
Yes.
But what you don't look at, Keith, is how many games they're behind in a wild card spot. And you can get into the wild card and you can advance the same way. Obviously, you want to win your division. You want to get a bye because that makes it easier. But at the end of the day, all people are going to remember is what you did in the playoffs. If you go to the World Series, that's all they're going to remember.
This is the team, by the way, that had, I think they might have had the best record in baseball here about 10 days ago, and now they've lost 7 in a row and they're last place in their division. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying that's where they'll finish, but that's where I picked them to finish. I'm guilty of what? What am I guilty of?
There you go. Yeah, well, if you don't know, why should he tell you? Let's go Buffalo.
What am I guilty of?
Okay.
Anyway.
One of the Tiger suspension, I don't know where you're going to bring it up, or Kramer Valdez.
Yeah, we can talk about that. I mean, he gets a couple home runs the other night.
5 games?
Yep.
To me, 6 games, I don't care 5, 6. It's 1 start.
And Hinch gets a suspension.
1 start. That's what bothers me, especially in baseball. A player gets beamed. And just because the players show enough restraint by not having an all-out brawl, they lessen the penalty. Had both teams fought on the field and they were throwing punches and it was a big melee, it would have been a longer suspension. Kramer Valdez, after giving up 2 home runs, consecutive homers, plunks a bat in the back. I don't want to hear that it was an accident. You know, if I'm the commissioner,
it wasn't an accident.
You know what I do if I'm the commissioner? I suspend you for 40 games.
40 games for hitting a guy.
40 games. That's serious business. You hit a guy with a pitch, you could seriously injure him. The audacity of you deliberately hitting a guy with a pitch.
How many games would Bob Gibson? How many wins would Bob Gibson have lost with your rules? Because he would have been suspended for about 500 games in his career. So
no, it wouldn't have happened. Because once you get suspended like that, you're not throwing at a guy anymore. You know, I could tolerate a pitcher throwing at a batter if the batter's deliberately trying to show him up.
Yeah.
I get that. If the batter's showboating, I mean, I like to tell this story. There was this player, Derek Bell, on the Mets. He hits a home run, but he's watching the ball go out, and he's going like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. You know, and he's like making a whole theatrical thing out of it.
Which
the
a lot of
next time he was up, he got plunked. That's fine to me. That's fine to me. Just hit your home run. You can run around the bases. You know, Mickey Mantle used to run with his head down. But you don't hit a guy because he gave up 2 home runs before. You think of that, Keith. You're hitting a guy with a pitch.
But they also
hurt him. You could injure him.
But these guys also don't respect the fact that they don't own all the home plate. They lean over they're right over the home plate, and guys get a right to push them off the plate and throw it. Guys,
but that's not pushing them off the plate.
That's part of the game is getting hit. You know, the big part is with all the rules that they've already put in. Because hitters cry, is batters don't expect to get thrown at or pitched inside anymore either. Now, again, he was definitely trying to hit him deliberately the other night, and I have no.
That's what I mean when it's obviously deliberate.
You're gonna
send a message. You know, Irwin used to say later, where the great Oriole manager, look, even if it's an accident, pitchers, if they have such bad control that they're hitting batters, my point is
nobody's saying it's an accident.
You hit a batter, you're seriously putting him in jeopardy. I mean, can you imagine? Take it to football. You take a player who, they can't sack the quarterback. So after the play, when the play is long finished, they deliberately flatten the quarterback. They would get suspended for 4 games by Roger Goodell if it was so ridiculously flagrant.
Right, and we put dresses on quarterbacks in the NFL. So why don't in baseball?
It's 1 start, Brian. It's not a position play in 5 games. Hold
on. So why don't we in baseball? Why don't we just put the ball on a tee? Then nobody gets hurt. We've sissified everything in sports, and I'm so sick and tired of it. You talk about quarterbacks, and now we got to protect wide receivers. I don't want guys to get hurt, but hitting guys, we've been hitting guys in baseball for 125 years.
It's okay. You condone it. You condone it, Keith.
Sometimes it happens. You got to.
You condone if a team hits consecutive home runs. You're okay with the next batter getting drilled with a fastball in the back.
Billy Martin would have told him to
good
drill
with
him.
that.
Billy
You're
Martin.
good. Okay,
Billy
if you're
Martin
good
would
with
have.
all, I'm not good with that.
Billy Martin would have told any pitcher after that, if guys were not respecting his part of the plate, just hit him.
You know, there's this play on Texas, Billy
I don't want to hit him in the head. I don't want to hit him in the head.
Listen, there was this player on the Texas Rangers that Billy Martin managed when he managed the Texas called Billy Sample. Then when Billy Martin came over to the Yankees to manage them, he didn't like Billy Sample. He told Goose Gossage to hit him in the head.
Not in the head.
Gossage refused to do it.
Not in the head.
But Gossage would tell the story later. If Gossage threw the ball deliberately and hit Billy Sample in the head with a fastball, now you're going to put it down. Gossage should be brought up on criminal charges, as should Billy Sample. They shouldn't only be suspended. They should be brought up on criminal charges. Had that
First
happened.
of all, I never said I would never condone throwing at somebody's head ever, but throwing at guys is different. And I guarantee you, Goose Gossage threw at guys. He'll tell you he threw at guys, not at their heads, and probably not on Billy's orders. But I guarantee you, Goose Gossage threw at guys.
Well, I remember the racket. He drilled one of the Blue Jay players in the back in the 7th inning, and what Joe Torre was upset about. That's when Clemens was with the Yankees. He said, I wish he hadn't done it at that time because he hadn't had his bullpen set up.
Yeah.
And there was a time, too, one of the Yankees' marginal pitchers, I don't remember his name, a marginal pitcher, they were playing the Angels. Jeter had gotten hit, and the Yankee pitcher hit the Angel player in the head. And that was like, whoa.
Never.
I know you want to hit, you want to protect your guy, but you don't throw at someone's head. That's the one area you keep away from. But I remember Jeter saying he was protecting me, and I appreciate it.
You got to.
Hey, listen, if there's a reason, if you're protecting your teammates because they've been getting hit, I have a degree of tolerance for that, Keith. I really do. What I don't have tolerance for is a batter getting drilled because the pitcher gave up a couple of home runs before the pitcher's upset.
If it's just because of that, I'm less likely to say go ahead and throw at him. But again, there's also, and I don't know this. Again, having played the game a long time, and there's part of the plate belongs to the pitcher and part of the plate belongs to the hitter. And if those guys are not respecting that, and Don Drysdale,
I'm not talking about that.
All these guys talk about this. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. I'm saying to you that I don't necessarily disagree if you're throwing at him only because you just gave up 2 home runs. But if those guys are all out there leaning it out over the plate,
but Hinch got the Tiger manager, J.J. Hinch got suspended for 1 game.
Yeah.
And it surprised me a little bit because Hinch kind of was upset with his own player. He more or less said he didn't like what his player did. He wasn't defending him in any way, shape, or form.
That's the rules too, I believe. That
the manager gets. Can you imagine a pitcher doesn't? Can you imagine a pitcher doesn't like the manager? He figured, screw it, I want to get him suspended again.
Well, it's possible.
Yeah,
maybe that's the case there. The Tigers also lose Skubal for who knows how long, at least a couple.
Oh wow! Like you said on the past show, what a fiasco for the Tigers because Skubal's in its free agent year.
Worst case scenario.
You can't trade him during the season. You can't get anything back during the season now. And Skubal's going to become a free agent. And the only way Skubal goes back to the Tigers at this point is if the Tigers, at the very least, match what other teams are going to offer him. And someone's stepping forward, injury or not, and Skubal is going to get big money.
Worst case,
and look out for the New York Yankees in this. Yankees, Mets, and maybe Dodgers even going to be in play. They're going to strike again. But someone, maybe the Phillies, someone is going, Blue Jays. I could go over a bunch of teams. Someone is stepping up at least one team is going to blow Scooble away with a major offer, even coming off this injury.
If the Tigers fall out of the race, this is the worst case scenario because, as you said, they can't trade him now, and he's not going to give them anything. They'll get nothing for their $38 million they lost in arbitration.
Well, not so much the money they lost. I don't think it was $38 million.
It was 30-some million.
Yeah, in the low 30s, I think.
Maybe it was 30.
But that's not the point. It's not the money lost this year. It's what they were going to do with Scooble. Either Scooble was going to help them get to the World Series this year, and they were going to keep him, and they were going to ride Scooble out to the end, or they were going to trade him at some point and get some chips in return. And they're getting neither of the two now. Terrible scenario for the Detroit Tigers. But you want to know something? Shame on the Tigers. They should have signed Scooble 2-3 years ago to a long-term deal. They didn't have faith in their own guy. They let it get to this point. So
this is
they
why
made their own bed. Yeah.
That's why, and to your credit, you advocated this quite a while ago. Was wrapping up.
Sometimes it's a little bit, Keith. Sometimes it is risky. You give a guy a long-term deal, you project early. And I'll give a case in point. I was all for the Yankees like 3 years ago, signing Anthony Volpe to one of those 12-year deals. Give him 12, 13 million a year. Because as time goes by, that's going to be a bargain if he's your shortstop of the future. And now with Anthony Volpe, or we could say he might be the Yankees' shortstop of the future, or he might not pan out. In other words, the jury is, out on Volpe right now.
It's way out now.
No, don't give up. Don't give up on him, Keith.
No,
give up on Anthony Volpe.
He's not ready to play anyway. So, I mean, he hasn't,
Well, they don't know because Caballero's playing well at shortstop. If Caballero wasn't playing well, they would have brought Volpe back up.
The worst thing that could have happened to Volpe was to bring him up now when he isn't even ready, him play poorly, and then the team starts to play poorly.
You don't want to say that he's not ready. They wouldn't bring him up unless he was ready. But if he played poorly, the fans would be all over him.
Well, this was my point. You didn't let me finish my point. Was that the worst thing could happen? Was he wouldn't play well. The team would now not play as well as you're playing now, and everybody turns on him. The press, the fans, and that's what happened last year. And
why do fan bases like to? And the Yankee fan base has been guilty of this. They like to point to one player or one person. It could be the manager or one whoever for their ills. Like someone has always got to get blamed. Listen, Kate, it happened to me even in Little League. We gave up like 10 runs in an inning. I dropped one ball at first base. I made a clear error at the end that would have ended the torturous inning and allowed the torturous inning to continue a little while. And we get back to the dugout and we ask what went wrong, and the pitcher pointed, it's his fault, pointing to me at first base. So we gave up. We would have 10 runs instead of 8.
Jack, you keep going further and fast.
I know. I
further back in time in your life. We're going to be talking about the Civil War pretty soon with you and how you got out of Gettysburg alive.
How I was reincarnated, in the past life. Yeah. That's Doc Semendinger's thing. He's written, on our network. He's written books on the Civil War. We'll bring Volpe back out of his slump just so Keith has something to say.
I've got nothing bad to say about Boone.
You're not complaining about Boone, are you?
Not this week. No, not this week. Not last week.
You're waiting for Boone. You're waiting for the Yankees to lose a few games. I know you're not rooting for them because you're Yankees.
No, I will not. I always want to
do wrong. When they do, it's going to be Boone's fault in your book. You're going to put the blame on Boone.
I'm not setting him up for failure. No, if there's somebody else to blame, then I'll blame them or blame nobody because sometimes things just happen, right? As you said before, there isn't always blame to go around. In life, we always want to point a finger at somebody for everything, but some things just happen. If he's to blame for something, then I'll blame him. But he's done well this year. This team is tied for the best record in baseball without who's been their best pitcher.
Colin Rondon. I kind of wonder how a Yankee rotation would be set up. Can you imagine everyone is healthy and you have a playoff scenario? I mean, Max Fried has to be given the aces role, established pitcher.
100%.
But the way Schlitter's pitching, I would put him ahead of Cole and Rondon in the rotation. He's been so amazing, Schlitter, and it's not a fluke. I think Schlitter's here to stay as an impact pitcher.
Where you sit in the rotation doesn't necessarily matter till you get to the playoffs anyway.
Cole has a reputation, and Cole has been a great leader on the Yankees as well, but he's been hurt.
If everything stays as it is today with the guys that are healthy and Cole comes along and pitches anywhere as close to where Cole was, I can see him starting game 3 in a playoff series. Yes.
Which isn't bad, because if it's a 7-game series, your third game starts game 7. Yeah. So that's pretty prestigious.
It is pretty good. So I'm happy that they
listen, we're getting way ahead of ourselves.
Jack,
that could be, Danny.
I wasn't thinking Abraham Lincoln, Danny, but that's a good one. Yeah. Before we move off the Yankees, just a quick note. Spencer Jones will make his MLB debut tonight. Gets called up with the injury to Dominguez yesterday. Yankees need a spark in that outfield.
Dominguez going on the injured,
he's worked hard.
I mean, trying to making a great defensive play, crashing into the fence. And sometimes you wonder what players are thinking. They get hurt and they think, was it worth making that extra little effort? But you got to do it. Listen, Aaron Judge is the Yankees' most valuable commodity. We agree on that, far and away. Not even close. Not even remotely close. Not even a conversation. Pitchers, position players.
Nope.
But do you want to see Aaron Judge stretching out, diving for balls, leaping by a fence, potentially running into it? You do and you don't want to see that. On one end, you want the complete player to give 100%, but there are risks involved. And look, Judge got hurt against the Dodgers, Los Angeles, but it was the makeup of the fence, that had something to do with it. And in the case of Dominguez, you wonder sometimes, is it worth making that extra little effort? Yeah, you got to make it. I understand that. But look at the results of it.
The Judge has done a better job, I think, the last few years of, protecting himself in that without not hustling and not trying to make those plays. But I think he knows that, you got to take better care and not be as reckless.
You don't want a ball hit down the right field line and Judge potentially crashing into the wall there.
It all depends on
Judge, look, if the ball is down the line, let it bounce there. Look, if it's the game on the line, it's extra innings. You're on the road, get 2 outs, and the catch keeps the game going. That's one thing. Otherwise, maybe, just protect yourself in a certain sense. I get that. If you're Aaron Judge, if you're someone like Trent Grisham, or maybe even Dominguez, you go for the ball.
I'd like to see Trent Grisham run into a wall right now, by the way, because they can't, I don't know how much longer. That's why I'm interested to see what Spencer Jones can do here at the major league level, because the Yankees need a spark in that outfield. They can't keep sending Grisham out there.
He cleared the bases with a double yesterday.
Got himself all the way up to 180, going 3 for 5 yesterday.
There are 2 players I want to see in a Yankee uniform. I've always wanted to see him in a Yankee uniform. It's crazy. And someday get them. Mike Trout, and who's no longer the Mike Trout of old, but he's still good. And Brian Buxton. I for some reason, I've had this thing about seeing these guys in the Yankee uniform. Buxton in center field. Would you trade one of your pieces? Would you trade Spencer Jones and Grisham for Buxton?
No, because he can't stay healthy. He doesn't. He plays about half the season. He's a great player when he plays, but he doesn't play enough.
At some point, they might be healthy. They might turn around.
I might reverse my age and become 30 again, but that's not likely. Listen, we'll see how that happens. But Grisham's got to either pick it up or we got to figure out a different answer.
Greg Grisham's on a 1-year deal. Keep that in mind.
Mac, I'm talking about this year. I don't care about next year. I'm talking about this year.
They're winning, so they can afford so and so. Listen,
you're not going to be able to carry that 180 bat forever.
Keith, about a week ago or so,
lineup
Keith, about a week ago, we were saying about the Yankee third baseman Ryan McMahon. Well, if he doesn't hit, maybe we got to play. I don't care how good a glove he has. You got to maybe play Rosario there. If Volpe's brought up, maybe put Caballero at third. And now McMahon's starting to hit.
Yeah, he's
starting to actually hit. So,
just because he's got 4 hits in a week, I'm not ready to say he's, the next.
Okay. With the Yankees, the bigger news earlier this week, the voice of the Yankees.
Yes, I want to touch on that. We'll leave the NFL stuff till our next show, but I want to touch on a couple of passings and quickly. The first one, big news here in New York, and actually bigger news than I thought, really nationwide. John Sterling, longtime Yankee play-by-play guy on the radio, passed away this week at 87, I think. Is that right? I think it was 87 or 88. Also had a long, and interesting enough, because Ted Turner is another guy I want to chat about for a second. He started out in his baseball career with the Braves when Ted Turner owned the Braves. And then he came to the Yankees. His lifelong job, dreamed was to be a Yankee announcer. Love him or hate him, I wasn't a big John Sterling. We have different opinions on John Sterling for different reasons. I didn't care for John Sterling, the play-by-play guy on the radio, because I felt like he was doing TV. I never knew what was going on. He did, but I didn't. And I like baseball on the radio, and I never cared for John Sterling and his approach. He was a character. A lot of people like the colorful catchphrases and, the Yankees win and all that stuff. But, for as far as calling a game, I wasn't a big fan. A lot of people were. And a lot of people came out of the woodwork this week to express what they thought about John Sterling. Great career. Our thoughts go out to his family. But, again, I wasn't a big fan of his work on the game-by-game or play calling. You have a different opinion of John Sterling.
I have my opinion twofold. Going back in the 70s, okay, John Sterling had a talk show. And John Sterling, he was incredibly rude to people. Incredibly. He was awful the way he conducted himself, because John Sterling was looking to advance his career.
Sure.
And he'd always say things that could benefit him. If a caller called up in a certain way, I just stopped listening to him. I couldn't take him. And believe me, I have a lot of tolerance. For example, take a Mike Francesa, very condescending.
Awful.
And I don't think Francesa's this nice, wonderful guy listening to him on the air, but I can at least tolerate him, okay? And sometimes even enjoy his work. Sterling was awful as far as I'm concerned. The worst by far talk show host I ever saw in a league of his own, that bad, And he was a knowledgeable guy. I hated John Sterling, that version of him. I thought he was a lousy person back in the day. Lousy. He was the best. He maybe evolved into a wonderful person, and apparently a lot of people liked him, a lot of people valued him, which is fine, and maybe justifiably so. As a broadcaster, I'm glad I was able to distinguish it. I love John Sterling on the Yankee broadcast.
And he did too.
I had a different view completely. I loved listening to John Sterling. He made me feel like I wanted to sit next to him during a ball game. That's how good he was to me.
Well,
so you have to be able to compartmentalize. And as much as I detested John Sterling as an individual when he did his talk show, I loved him when he was a Yankee broadcaster.
Yeah.
I absolutely loved it. The guy was great.
He was a Yankee ambassador for decades. So, kudos to him. My own personal opinion about the way he called games doesn't really reflect on what I think of John Sterling, the person.
He made me enjoy the game.
Well, he was an enjoyable listen, but I couldn't tell what was going on in the game. I didn't like the way he called the game.
I didn't care, even though I could tell, even though I thought he was efficient. He was not just fun to listen to. He made me feel like I was sitting next to a friend when I'd listening to Yankee games. He made me feel like I was at the game listening to him on radio. That's how good he was.
That part of John Sterling's personality, I did like to listen to. Right,
Yeah.
it's just the nuts and bolts of doing the game I didn't care for, because I'd watch highlights the next day and think I listened to a totally different game the night before listening to him. So again, it's just a matter of taste. Danny out in California thinks he's one of the best
radio baseball announcer, to me, that I ever heard.
Great voice, and I didn't mind the Sterlingisms, right? That he.
Yeah, it was fun. It was always fun.
It was really the nuts and bolts of doing the game. But anyway, our condolences to his family. And real quick, Ted Turner passed away this week as well. And this is a guy who's been ingrained in sports and general culture of this country for the last, at least 5 decades, really. Winning America's Cup as a yachtsman, buying the Braves, being a manager for one game, creating this whole media empire. And
WCW wrestling.
WCW wrestling. I was surprised to hear you comment on that. I didn't know you were a big wrestling fan, Jack. But Ted Turner passed away. And listen, he was an important figure in Major League Baseball, owning the Braves for over 2 decades, and the Braves had a lot of great success while he was the owner there.
He managed the game, but he wasn't a meddling owner, I don't think. All in all, he wasn't a meddling owner. He was on the, but you got the feeling with sports, Ted Turner liked sports but didn't love it. It was part of his businesses.
Yeah,
but he liked it. He wanted to win. He enjoyed the atmosphere.
And celebrate with the team sometimes, run out of the stands. So he was I guess.
He was definitely a high profile owner, but a popular owner. He wasn't detested by the fan base at any point. Some other owners have been. He also changed
the landscape of baseball on television, basically, with the Superstation, and they had them in WGN in Chicago, where I could watch those games when I couldn't get any other Yankee baseball at the time. So it was a lot of fun. So our thoughts and prayers go out to his family as well. Jack, anything you want to add? Any boxing news real quick? We're a little over, but.
Boxing news. We had Anthony Joshua's last opponent on Glove Fist. There's a big heavyweight fight tomorrow. Fabio Wardley against Daniel Dubois for, one of the sanctioning body belts. But if Fabio Wardley wins, he's certainly in the mix, I guess, for a fight maybe with Alexander Usyk, who's fighting in a couple of weeks against the kickboxer, ironically.
That's fun.
But Wardley and Dubois is a big heavyweight fight tomorrow, coming from the UK.
Well, check that out. Check Jack out on the debate show tomorrow. By the way, a quick program note. I'm doing my MLB update live on Facebook at 9:30 because I'm going away for the weekend. It'll replay on the McGrath Podcast Network at 3 o'clock. The debate show with Jack tomorrow. My Sunday Stream of Consciousness won't be on at 9 a.m., but we'll be on sometime when I get home Sunday afternoon. We'll do an hour or two late in the day, and I'll let you guys know. So have a great weekend. Jack, have a great weekend. And Jack and I will be back on Monday morning at 8 a.m. to see if the Knicks have wrapped it up. See you guys later. Bye.